People say the world is a dark and scary place, but you have no idea just how dark it really is. We are about to take a peek into the abyss. Welcome to the darkest depths. 21-year-old Anton London Pedersen had been searching on the internet for neo-Nazi and far-right media, as well as reading about Anders Breivik and other far-right terrorists. Anton had become increasingly irritated with the immigration policy in Sweden and thought that it was destroying the country, his country. It was also known that Anton had become increasingly depressed, as he did not have any friends and was contemplating suicide. On the morning of October 22, 2015, Anton woke up and contacted the few online friends that he had, telling them that he was going to die soon. He also penned and left a suicide note for his family. Before he left the house, he gathered all of his gear, which included his favorite black trench coat, his World War II styled Nazi helmet, his tactical mask, his favorite hunting knife, and his prized possession, a large double-edged medieval-style sword which he had sharpened like a razor on both sides. He also brought a bullseye target to place on his chest to further prove his intentions for the day. Then he set out to Kronan School in Trollhättan, which wasn't very far away. Peterson parked his car, dressed into his gear, and armed himself with his knife and sword, then entered the school through the cafe, which was open to the public. 20-year-old teaching assistant Lavin Eskander was sitting at a table having lunch with his friend when Anton came up behind him and stabbed him 2 times in the back with the sword. The friend was struck with the flat side of the sword and managed to escape without any injuries, but Lavin would die quickly, bleeding out from the stab wounds. From the cafe, Anton would walk up the stairs to meet 15-year-old Ahmed Hassan, whom he impaled onto his sword. He then twisted it, pulled it out, and calmly walked away to leave Ahmad to bleed to death. Ahmad would later die in the hospital from his injury. As Pedersen continued to walk along, he encountered 3 teenage girls who thought that his attire was for a Halloween prank. They stopped him and asked him to pose for a selfie with them, which he politely did, with blood still dripping from his sword. The girls then walked off, completely unaware that they had just escaped death. It is likely that Anton spared them because they were Swedish and not immigrants. As Anton continued down the school hallway, 42-year-old teacher Nazir Amso and a group of students walked up to him and told him to promptly leave the property. Anton responded by stabbing Nazir in the stomach with the sword, which caused the teenagers to flee for their lives. By now, the school was starting to lock down, but no one was informed of the ongoing situation. They were just trapped inside. And Anton continued up the stairs, leaving a trail of blood behind him. He walked up to a classroom, knocked on the door, and a 15-year-old Muslim boy answered from the inside. Anton and the boy had a few brief seconds where they just looked at each other in awe, before Anton brought the sword down to stab the young man in the side of his abdomen. And as he withdrew the sword from him, blood began to spray all over the classroom floor. Fellow students rushed over to help the badly bleeding victim close and secure the door, and soon Anton gave up and walked down the hall in search of other victims. The boy would rush to the teacher's office, where he would get first aid and fortunately survive the attack. Finally, the police arrived and began storming the school, and the first officers reached the 2nd floor to encounter Anton Pedersen, still dressed in his mask with his Nazi hat on, and a big black bullseye underneath his trench coat. As the authorities told him to stop and lay his weapons down, Anton made a mad dash for them with his sword drawn to attack. With 2 shots being fired from one officer, Anton Pedersen was stopped dead in his tracks. He would later die in the hospital from his injuries. And with that, Anton's racist and horrific rampage came to an end. 3 innocent people of color died that day, and the white supremacist Pedersen went out just as he wanted to, with a suicide by cop. The Kronan School Massacre is the worst attack on a Swedish school by death toll ever.
Thank you for watching Darkest Depths. Follow on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok for the absolute worst that humanity has to offer in true crime and horror. Merchandise available through teespring.com. Episode requests made through darkestdepthstruecrime@gmail.com.